Hi, welcome to Non-Stop Chess channel. As mentioned, attacking players during the middle game look for sacrifice on the h7, f7, e6 square. In the last few videos, we saw the sacrifice on h7, f7 and f2 in the middle game. In this video, we will see the e6 square sacrifice. The game was played between Garry Kasparov versus Boris Gelfand in Linares in the year 1993 in round 11, March 11th. In this game, Kasparov playing white against Gelfand does a brilliant sacrifice on e6. Usually, this sacrifice is done when the bishop is active in the diagonal a2 to g8 or b1 to h7. Let's quickly go into the position where we can start the analysis. Kasparov starts with e4 and Gelfand responds with c5. It's a Sicilian, and he plays the standard moves nf3, b6, d4, c into d4, n into d4, nf6, nc3, a6, bc4, e6, bb3, b5, castle, bishop e7, queen f3, queen c7, queen g3, oo, bishop h6. Kasparov immediately starts attacking. Here the bishop cannot be taken because there is a discovered check for the black king. So Gelfand defends it with moving his knight to e8. Now white plays rook a d1, b d7, n f3, d4, n e2, a5, n f4. If you notice, the knight can be played any number of times to weaken the opponent's pawn structure. So here Kasparov, though has played the knight more number of times, is acceptable since he's done the development of the king side and the queen side, is castled and connected the rooks. Now to develop and go for attack, he is trying to maneuver his knight to a key position so that he's getting ready for the sacrifice. Black plays king h8, bishop g5, nf6, queen h4, bb5. This is a mistake done by the black, since if the bishop was not moved, he could have actually protected the e6 square and now gives an opportunity immediately. White can easily win the key advantage by sacrificing the bishop. Pawn takes, knight into e6, and he can take the rook. Here for a bishop and a knight, he gets 2 pawns and a rook, which is 7 points, and the bishop and knight is 6 points. So this is a very simple way, but Kasparov instead plays the grandmaster mating attack. So here Kasparov, instead of straight away sacrificing, develops nd4. Gelfand plays bishop e8, but instead if he goes for bishop into f1, let's see what happens. Then white simply has to take knight d into e6, is forced. Now instead of the knight, which the beginner usually plays, the Kasparov takes it with the bishop. The tempting knight move is good, but when you sacrifice, the objective is not to get a material advantage but to mate the opponent. Here this move is forced, since otherwise white is going to play his knight check and mate, since this pawn cannot cut the knight and the king will not be able to go to this square. So black is trying to create an escape square and hoping for his king to be in safe, but Kasparov could easily play bishop into h6 and pawn into bishop, queen h6, and the only defense is knight h7 and knight g6 mate. So in this position, if you see, if bishop into f1 is actually not that effective. Also, if instead of h6, if he plays g6, again he can sacrifice with his knight. Let's see the beautiful continuation. Now black cannot take it with the pawn since there's a discovered check. He has to move his king, and white simply can give queen h6 and mate. So he cannot go to the h8 and the bishop is guarding. So that's the reason I think Gelfand didn't play the bishop f into rook. Instead, Gelfand played the bishop e8. Now Kasparov starts his brilliant sacrifice. Knight d into e6, f into e6, knight into e6, queen a7. Here Kasparov shows his brilliance. He is not, as I mentioned, going for the rook to gain any advantage. He is trying to play for a win. And let's see the beautiful continuation here. This e5 move is a typical Kasparov move. If you notice, in a lot of his game, he plays these moves, giving away the pawn, but to gain the control of this file. Similarly, this pawn which he gave is one of the important reason the king actually will get mated in all combination, and we will see how. Black accepts it. Now Kasparov takes it. Bishop into knight, bishop into f6, g into f6. Now we should not play queen into, since this queen will come back and defend, and the game actually is quite defendable. Since the sacrifice that white made, there is counter for the black to play. So instead, Kasparov plays rook d8. Here there are many variations that black can play. He could have actually moved his queen to the e7, or he could have developed this knight. So we will see what are all the continuation if he does one of those moves. Let us say he plays queen e7, then queen c4, the check in g8. So white, since giving a mating attack, black moves the king to g7, queen g8 plus, black moves his king to h6, rook h3, bg6, rook h3 plus, king g5. Here a brilliant queen move which now forces black to either lose the rook or to save the king. To save the king, he will play f5, and white can simply capture the rook and win the game. So instead, let us say if black responds with the nd7, white actually can play just queen g4, and this mate in g8 cannot be avoided, since the only way to defend it is with the bishop and if bishop plays it, you simply try to take the bishop and then again mate on g8. Hope you like this game. To summarize, in the middle game, look for sacrifice on the h7, f7, e6 square. Today we saw the sacrifice in e6 square. Try to always place all your pieces in key squares, which helps us to attack and win the game. If you observe carefully, black has not fully developed his queen side yet. If you like the video, share it with your other chess friends. Thanks for watching and the subscription.